Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay. Yeah, pretty sad news to report. Today on the death of wrestling legend, WWE legend, WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. It was reported earlier today by Paul Orndorff's son that Mr. Wonderful passed away. Um, of course, Mr. Wonderful was part of the tag team that was part of um, the first WrestleMania, the inaugural WrestleMania, WrestleMania 1. It was himself and Roddy Piper against Hulk Hogan and Mr. T. Now, unfortunately, he has passed away, and so has Roddy Piper. So, um, one tag team, two-fourths of that main event are now no longer with us. And of course, he was also known as setting a record attendance in 1986 for the match he had in Canada, in Toronto, I believe it was, against Hulk Hogan 1-on-1. He was a huge star during that initial period from 1984 to 1988. When he left WWE, he was like one of the top guys. And I always felt when it came to him that he never really got the recognition that he really deserved. Like you would always, when you hear stuff about WrestleMania 1, you would always hear, of course, about Hulk Hogan, about Roddy Piper, and about Mr. T, but you never really heard about Paul Orndorff, and he was crucial. Paul Orndorff was crucial to the success of that angle because he and Hulk Hogan were tag team partners, and he later turned heel and he turned his back on Hogan, and that's what started the feud that led to WrestleMania 1 because Roddy Piper got him and got him as a partner because he was so close to Hulk Hogan in storyline. Later on, he had this injury and he never really got it checked out with his arm, and it led to some serious problems that caused him to retire from the ring briefly in 1988. But personally, what I remember, I was too young. I'm too young to remember the initial angle with him and Hogan, and when the big success and the big money that was made in that. What I remember from Paul Orndorff was his time in WCW. When he wrestled Cactus Jack in 1992 for the U.S. title, when he teamed with Paul Roma, like I spoke about in the Patriot video, when they were tag team partners as Pretty Wonderful. When the Masked Assassin, Jody Hamilton, Nick Patrick's father, was their manager, and he would do the pile driver, and then that was his finishing move. And then he got jumped by the Horsemen, and then he was an agent for WCW, and that's when he knocked out Vader, and that fight between he and Vader caused Vader to leave the company and go to WWE. So that's what I remember about Mr. Wonderful. Was the run in WCW where he was the US champion and he was the tag team champion. I don't I don't really remember from the 80s. But yeah, that team are pretty wonderful. Himself and Paul Roma and were pretty over as heels. They used to chant Paul to him. And he would cover his ears like this. When they would chant that. But yeah, he was a pretty good tag team wrestler. I remember when he and Paul Roma won the tag team titles at Bash at the Beach 1994, and when they finally lost the last um, tag team championships to Stars and Stripes at at Clash of Champions that year. Um, the last time I remember seeing Paul Orndorff on TV was in 2014. It was a Raw that they were doing the celebration for Hulk Hogan's birthday, and much like they did for Ric Flair in 2008, they brought out um, all the people associated with Ric Flair's career. This is what they did for Hogan. So they brought out the NWO, they brought out Jimmy Hart, and they brought out Mr. Wonderful. And I was like, damn, Mr. Wonderful kind of looked, like in really bad shape. And then I saw that video a couple of weeks ago that his son posted. And I was just like, dang, you really looked like, he really wasn't doing well. And unfortunately, he's passed away. But rest in peace to Mr. Wonderful. Um, Thanks for the memories and the contributions that you made to the wrestling business. And I feel like you had the best pile driver in the business. I know people will say, well, Jerry Lawler had a better pile driver, but I just feel like Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff had the best pile driver in the business. When I first started watching wrestling, he was the main wrestler that would do the pile driver, the classic one, not the one like Undertaker did, Tombstone, the regular pile driver he would do. And that was kind of cool because the pile driver, but it really looked like it really hurt somebody. It's kind of like Jake the Snake Roberts always did the best DDT in the wrestling business. But rest in peace to Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. He'll be sorely missed in the WWE and in WWE history and in professional wrestling history. He went into the Hall of Fame in 2005, the same year that a lot of legends from his era, including Hulk Hogan, went in. And it was crazy that WCW never put him and Hulk Hogan together because the business that they did in 1986 for the WWE was tremendous. That was what really, they say, really solidified Hulk Hogan as a legend in Canada, was that angle. So that even when Hulk Hogan went back to Canada with later people like The Rock and Ultimate Warrior in 1990 and 2002 respectively, um, he was still so over in Canada because of the initial angle in '86 that he remained over forever and was one of the legends in Canada, like up there with Bret Hart and up there with big time Canadian wrestlers. As far as an American wrestler, Paul Orndorff and Hulk Hogan were the most two of the most well known guys, and plus Paul Orndorff too had one of the better physiques in wrestling. Anyway, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell button to see when my next video is coming out. Love you.